So I figured I'd give you guys a tour of my garden. So I've got 10 different varieties of tomatoes here, all trained up on these wires. And corn, this is a variety called Glass Gem. It's a Central American heirloom variety. And this sunflower is just beautiful. It's starting to shed. You can start seeing the seeds. So I made it a point to mark everything clearly so that I can track what does well and what doesn't. These are all hot peppers right here. Ghost pepper, rooster spur, serrano, corno de toro, tequila sunrise. You can see there's peppers on it. That's pretty cool. Herbs. So there's, I think, 4 varieties of basil: dark opal basil, Thai basil, dwarf Greek basil, and Italian large leaf basil. And then sage, 2 different types of sage. These are perennials. They'll be coming up all the time. Thyme, people call it thyme, but it's spelled T-H-Y-M-E, so I'm gonna say thyme. Oregano, 2 different types of oregano. And then rosemary is not doing too great. Mint, peppermint over there. Oh, it's so amazing. You put it in ice cream, it makes it so good. And then parsley. The parsley wasn't doing well at first because I was over watering it. I had the thing programmed to water it too much. One thing about this situation here is this ground happens to be high in nitrogen, but probably low in all the other nutrients. This is the first time I've grown in this spot, so I'd say it's doing pretty well for that, because the soil does need to be built up with nutrients. These marigolds are just amazing, just doing beautiful. And of course, I make it a point to plant dill all over my garden, because that's my favorite thing from even good childhood memory, is eating dill in the garden. It's just so delicious. This is okra. Due to the high nitrogen environment, the okra is trying to just put really thick greenery on and not producing much. So I'm having to discipline the plants, shock the plants by cutting the lower leaves, trimming the leaves off, and it is starting to produce pretty decent. It's not in its full-fledged production yet, but you can see some new stuff going on there. So that's shaping out to be all right. 9 different varieties of cucumbers down this. As you can see, this is how I did it. I did 2 tight wires stretched with a fence jack, so they're real tight. One on the bottom, basically on the ground, and one up here, and did this fencing at an angle so that, at least in concept, the melons and cucumbers dangle down on this back side, and I can just go in and pick them. And weed barrier fabric down there so that we don't have weeds. I just picked these. These are actually melons. They're called tiger melons, I think. They smell amazing. I'm gonna eat these here in a little bit. But yeah, it's just dangling right here on the back side. These cucumbers don't seem to be doing really well. It's probably a nutrient issue because, like I said, first time I've grown in this spot. As far as I know, they're getting enough water. I had to adjust the watering schedule, and I'll tell you about that here in a minute. The point that I was trying to accomplish with this garden was to make a garden that is as maintenance free as possible. So the entire thing is covered with weed barrier fabric, as like that, but this is just dirt on top of a it's like a fibrous weed barrier. I had to cover it with a thin layer of dirt because the light was getting through it, and so the weeds were still growing underneath it. So that was a learning opportunity right there. So that was the type of weed barrier that you typically use in landscaping underneath aggregate and stuff. I'll come back to this. This is the showstopper right there. Hot peppers along here, not doing great. I don't know if they will or not. It's maybe they got too much water. I don't know. Beautiful sunflower right there. So here is, it's cucumber. Which one is it? American pale green cucumber, and then painted serpent cucumber. And watermelons, Desert King watermelon, summer squash, crimson sweet watermelon. You can see they're growing there. And then yellow petite watermelon. It's pretty cool to just watch them get bigger and bigger. That is supposed to be loofah squash, but I think the squash bugs have killed it, unfortunately. That sucks. And out of here in the field, I just put additional watermelons. I put a dripper line all the way out and back, and each one has a type of, there's like, each 4 has a different variety of watermelon and other type of melon, like honeydew and muskmelon. Here's it's already growing. Those are doing fairly well. Can't complain about that. Okay, I'm gonna show you the real reason why I've been able to leave town for 3 weeks one time and 1 week another time, and come back and I still have a garden that's not all dead. Here's the reason. I built this box. It's made out of hardy material, so it's basically waterproof. Okay. Comes in with one water hose, goes through a filter, pressure gauge, and then goes into a manifold with 12 different zones of electric valves. And then I have it paired to this Orbit controller that actually can connect to Wi-Fi, so I can literally program it. I can change the program of watering on my garden from anywhere in the world from my phone, from the app, the Orbit app. It's really freaking cool being able to water your garden from anywhere. So then it's all wired in. Each one comes through and wires in to the bottom of the controller right there. I built this whole thing, and of course now there's black widow spiders growing down in here, hanging out. I'm trying to find one. I killed a couple earlier, but it's the perfect environment for black widows. Okay, each one, and I'm not using those 3 zones, but each one of these is a different zone. As you can see, like, one is coming and branching off for the tomatoes. One zone for the tomatoes, one zone for the hot peppers, one zone for that, one zone for the cucumbers, for the okra, for the corn. So I can program every single zone custom to the amount of water that I want it to be fed with. And that's so cool. It just goes automatically at night. It's watering at midnight, I think starting at about 11. So then it just does it automatically. I don't have to worry about it. Basically maintenance free. All I really have to do with this garden is come out and do little maintenance items, like strapping the tomatoes up on the wires, and Like